Hi, I'm natekokernot and I want to welcome you back to my channel. I'm talking about the concept of truth these last few days and arguing that the trend towards a postmodern worldview in which every one of us is viewing our own personal truth as sacrosanct has led us, despite its best intentions, to the chaos and disorder that we are collectively experiencing today. I've said in earlier videos that postmodernism was holding us to a fairly good truce until the internet and social media arrived on the scene and made all these billions of different truths more accessible to everyone. Now, our heads are spinning and we don't have a clue which way is up and which way is down. The spiritual path that I've been studying for the last decade or so, A Course in Miracles, says this about the effects of acquiring stable belief systems that is aligned with truth. Quote, "Salvation is the recognition that the truth is true and nothing else is true. This you have heard before, but may not yet accept both parts of it. Without the first, the second has no meaning, but without the second is the first no longer true. Truth cannot have an opposite. This cannot be too often said and thought about. For if what is not true is true as well as what is true, then part of truth is false, and truth has lost its meaning. Nothing but the truth is true, and what is false is false." End quote. This is the problem that postmodern thinking has unwittingly brought about. Truth in today's world has no meaning anymore. And when truth loses its meaning, the illusion of power sweeps in to bully everyone into accepting its truth with guns and money. Sound familiar? I'm not saying postmodernism isn't a wonderful idea. I'm just saying that it was introduced before the internet and that it can't withstand the unforeseen forces of social media as a tool to preserve the peace. A Course in Miracles tells us that we all have a voice in our heads that remembers the truth about us, and that voice is called the Holy Spirit. For you non-secular folks, I defer to the term higher self, which comes from internal family systems therapy. The term higher self is described in IFS therapy with the following adjectives, all beginning with the letter C. The higher self, or Holy Spirit, is calm, curious, creative, compassionate, confident, connected, and it sees with clarity. Oh, and it's also courageous. Neither your belief in God nor your lack of belief in God disqualify you from knowing this truth. There are countless paths to this truth. Science is marching that way itself. The thing that we shouldn't overlook is that we all have split minds. If you've ever quarreled with yourself over a decision, you have experienced a split mind. Our beliefs are unstable, and since our sensory organs are actually only here to confirm our beliefs to us, our perceptions of the world are quite unstable. The way to the higher self energy, then, is to know increasingly that only some of our beliefs are true and that everything else is false. We are not one mind and separate minds also. It is no coincidence that the thoughts we have which are aligned with the truth are the same ones that bring us a felt sense of calm. Jesus himself said that the truth will set you free. The belief that we are separate in addition to being one is essentially what leads to having our foot in two canoes. We are not spirit and a body. If we're spirit, we're eternal and changeless. We are divine and we are invulnerably innocent. If we're bodies, we will eventually be given over to sickness, death, and decay. And before that, we're also vulnerable to attack from other bodies. We want to believe that we are bodies because we so enjoy the bodily pleasures, the dopamine hits that come with getting what we think we want. But eventually, we do begin to see that the dopamine hits have a cycle attached to them, which involves a plunge in our spirits afterwards. And in chasing dopamine around and around in this vicious cycle, we're essentially stuck on a roller coaster of ups and downs, around and around. And this roller coaster doesn't stop and let us off, but just keeps looping around, and it gets more and more exhausting, terrifying, and overwhelming, until we finally give up on seeking our salvation through dopamine, through attaining things from the external world. Our salvation, our permanent joy and peace, will be permanent once we give up on all the other methods of finding it, because all those other methods are simply not in alignment with the truth about us. When we wholly accept the truth about ourselves, and nothing else besides that truth, that we are all one mind, at rest, in the peace and stillness of heaven, and when we finally accept that this fearful world is nothing more than a projection of our false beliefs about ourselves, that it is nothing more than an illusion that came about from our desire to find another way to salvation besides the truth. We are living in a dream, a wish fulfilled that we could somehow aspire to having more than everything. I recognize that this may sound radical to some of you out there, but it is not new teaching. The wisest among us have been saying the same radical truth to us for millennia, and it's only our resistance to it that makes it appear still radical in the first place. Wishes can only be realized in dreams. Our joint will for peace and joy and love is not a wish because it is God's will for us, but it can only be felt when we give up the false identity of one who is separate from everything. That will never lead to peace. It will only lead to more fear, more loneliness, more distrust, more guilt, more attacks, and more impulses to defend ourselves, which to other people appear as an attack on them. Believe me, I get why we all cling to our personal truths. The more consistently we believe in our worldview, the more we feel we can predict what's going to happen. The more certain we feel about our worldview, the more confidence we feel about the decisions we make. And so it makes perfect sense to me that we all defend our worldviews against all other worldviews that get presented to us, simply because they seem to threaten our own. They make them more unstable, and they don't feel safe emotionally. I get it. But also, if your worldview is that we are all separate beings with separate agendas, you're already primed for feeling unsafe. You're primed for suspicion and distrust, and feeling unsafe is the opposite of feeling at peace. The premises that I am asking you to consider as true are two concepts. First, the truth about perception, that we see what we believe is there, not what is actually there. And second, that we all share one mind, one consciousness. Neither of these ideas can be either proven or disproven by science at this time. But as an individual who has spent time in both of these camps, I can tell you with absolute certainty that the felt experience of believing these two truths is far more optimal than believing that the world of separation that my eyes are showing me. Science has not usurped the power of spiritual faith and pointed us towards another possibility for truth. Science is rather merging with spiritual truth. It's confirming spiritual faith on the daily. But if we're all too caught up in the illusions of fear and separation, in the dramas that are unfolding on the world stage, for instance, we won't even give any of our attention to the truth beyond the illusion. And we will not find our peace this way because we're too busy making fear real to us. Here's one more quote from A Course in Miracles about this topic. Quote, "You have but two emotions, yet in your private world you react to each of them as though it were the other. For love cannot abide in a world apart, where when it comes it is not recognized. If you see your own hatred as your brother, you are not seeing him. Everyone draws nigh unto what he loves and recoils from what he fears, and you react with fear to love and draw away from it. But fear attracts you, and believing that you love it, you call it to yourself. Your private world is filled with the figures of fear you have invited into it, and all the love your brothers offer you, you do not see." End quote. I hope that this makes some sense to some of you. Leave me a comment if you'd like me to clarify any of the points I made today, or if you simply want to disagree with me. And if you don't mind hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel, it will of course help the algorithm so that this capital T truth can spread more quickly. Have a wonderful day, full of blessings and miracles, and I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.